Absolutely, Sam. Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this live stream. I am very excited to meet the community, meet the rest of the world. So wherever you guys are in the world, welcome. A little bit about myself. My name is Amol, and I am from Austin. Sorry. Okay. Can everyone hear me now? Huh, that's weird. Cool. So yeah, anyway, I am from Austin, Texas. I've been here for a good 5 years now. I have been trading in the equity markets since 2007. Um, I have only recently been day trading and mostly in the traditional markets as well as now cryptocurrency since maybe October of last year. It is a lot of fun. I love it. And I love the thrill. I love the volatility. And I just honestly love charting and doing TA stuff. My trading style is typically a laid back attitude. I don't really like to get too emotional when it comes to the markets. If I have two or three losing trades, I'll typically walk away for 12 to 24 hours, go read a book, take my dog out. That's the game that you kind of have to play. Don't try to revenge trade. Don't try to push in trades and try to catch the moon on something that's already floating pretty high in terms of stocks or cryptocurrencies. Just wait for the right time for the proper buy zones, and just take the train on up, make some money. So yeah, that's me, and that's my style, and I hope to share some of the knowledge that I have with the rest of you guys. And let's get to some analysis today, and let's learn some TA.
Awesome. Let me guys know if you can hear me. I think I fixed my mic. And then just to add on to that, Amol has been a huge help. I'm actually not even sure how we met. I think actually someone else inside of the Moon Lounge maybe referred you to us. And Amol's been a great help at kind of just removing emotion out of the equation and investing with a very sound and mindful approach of, like you said, removing, kind of just going to take a walk when things don't work out your way. And again, let me know. Sound is okay now. Okay, cool. So I really appreciated them all. You've been a huge help at answering questions that people had in the Moon Lounge. So let's get to it. We were going to, I think, share your screen today, and I'll ask you questions, and you can feel free to start and share wherever you want. And then I have the questions up, and I don't know what kind of setup you got there. I don't know if you have a second monitor or a way to see the questions as well, but I'll keep an eye on them as you're talking and kind of just field anything that looks interesting or important as we go. So feel free to begin.
All right, I'm gonna start sharing my screen here, and yeah, man, let's get to it.
All righty. All right.
Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
I believe they should. So I see it. I see the Moon Lounge.
Awesome. Yeah, this is just something that I wanted to show the rest of the community. This is our Moon Lounge, and I typically am there to answer questions pretty much the whole day, and then we have another analyst who answers questions when I'm not there. So yeah, it's a great community with a lot of people helping each other, and we do daily analysis pretty much on demand. So I hope more of you guys can come experience the this kind of trading style. So all right, let's get to it. So let's get to the fundamentals first here. As we heard in the past week, it looks like the SEC is bringing the talks back on the table of allowing Bitcoin ETFs. Now, ETFs are going to be huge, by the way. If this passes, what this did to gold back in the day, or silver, or commodities markets, the ETFs that is, was absolutely huge. And you could expect the same thing for Bitcoin. Now, if you guys are part of the Moon Lounge, or if you've seen some of my analysis on TradingView, you will have seen that I have mentioned that, there is a certain pull from investors wanting to get into cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And I really believe this, that I think they really want to get in. However, they're not willing to pay, $8,000 or $10,000 for a Bitcoin because they have no idea what it is. They have no idea what it does. However, what they do know is they are in the foundational stages of something big. And I know that, they know that, you guys obviously know that. That's why we're all here. And so I think when, this passes, Bitcoin is going to Bitcoin cryptocurrencies are just going to explode. And they are going to reach all-time highs, blowing away the 20K by a long margin. But I think right now we're still in a longer bear market correction. So let me pull up my chart here.
Just a quick question. I think I know that an ETF was proposed many a times and kind of got batted down. When do you think, Amol, we might see a Bitcoin ETF finally?
Honestly, I actually think that just like back in December when the futures trading date, was already passed, I actually think that people knew right around November time, right, that, hey, futures are going to pass. And when people started knowing that, they pumped the price up huge, right? Because, if you look right here, we had 10 solid days right before the futures contract started, which is, pretty much like right around this area right here.
Yep.
And we just had these massive days of, relentless, just bullish movement. And
I miss those days.
I think exactly, same here. And I think honestly, Sam, I think the same is going to happen with ETFs, right? I think that when we start seeing reversals in the market, we will know that something has already happened behind the curtains that we are not well aware of. But that will be an indication that there is, a lot of positive news to come. And then you'll start seeing that positive sentiment rolling out. That's something that I always talk about to the community is, right now the sentiment behind cryptos and behind Bitcoin is far too negative. Like governments, banning with, banning cryptocurrencies, the FUD that's coming out,
ICO regulation.
Yeah, and the Reddit and everything, everyone is just so bearish, right? And so that goes to tell you that, okay, clearly like everyone is in this bearish sentiment. And people are just not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel yet. And I think, when it comes to this market right now, we still haven't found the bottom, at least in my eyes.
Okay.
Because the way you saw this massive bounce over here happen, right?
Yeah.
As soon as we breached that, 6,000 zone, we just saw a massive pullback, and this would be like a huge, bullish pin bar. Yeah. And now you just see this rally all the way to the top, and then you saw this downward pressure. So I think this entire time, this downward trend right here, this is where the bears started to take action. They're, whether it be institutional investors, whales, whatever, I think they started to realize like, well, they can't get in at this price, obviously. And there are too many retail, customers in the market like you and I, and, people viewing on YouTube. So they need to push this thing down to a certain level that's acceptable by them. Where that level is, I don't really know. But, we will know that when the reversal comes, there will be massive amounts of buying, and it's going to be easily, spottable. So
you think we drop to the 58 or below even further? It sounds like you think that we could pass that old low.
I think right now, honestly, like anything below this 886 support is possible, right? Whether that be like $1,000 or it be 4,200. Again, I can't really definitively say that, hey, I am certain that Bitcoin is going to 4,000. Of course. And that's just something that traders and investors never really do. We don't make predictions; we make probabilities. And any person who actually says that they know the answer of where exactly it will bounce back is probably lying, or he just has a crystal ball that I don't know about. Right. So yeah, for the most part, we're clearly trying to establish a bottom here in this, accumulation zone that I mentioned. but it's really not setting up too well. Like even on the 4 hour over here, we're seeing some resistance by this 50 EMA, which is the pink line right here. And we're trying to break above it, but every time we do, you see we get knocked down, right? So our first and hurdle right now is probably getting over the hump of this EMA, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, you can look far back. The last time we even went above the EMA was, when was it? Let's see. We stood up here, way back in December, and then we just started to come under. Every time we go over, we just come back down. Back. Yeah. So that 50 EMA is really holding us down. And the sell side momentum is relentless. They're not giving up. Obviously, right now, they're letting off some steam, and they're letting this thing fly a little bit until I feel that they may, crush it some more.
I think in hindsight, people always, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Hey, Bitcoin was at almost 20,000, and people, you look at it now and you're like, man, I wish I would have sold. And I think a lot of what's happening now is just a correction from such a high, crazy time during, November and December when you pointed out that we were, increasing at wild rates every day. And in my eyes, it's just not sustainable. I mean, of course, this market's a lot more volatile than, your traditional market, but when you have such a big run up, I mean, I think there is a lot of FUD and other things, but, Bitcoin and crypto, I don't think is new to any of that. I mean, I think ever since it came out and people were using it first on the dark net, it was always kind of under the limelight, so to speak. So I think a lot of it is just kind of this cool down phase that that almost any market needs to have after a big run up. And I don't think it changes any of the fundamentals about what crypto does or Bitcoin or any of it really is. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think some people, there's really bad articles out there like, is this the end of crypto or Bitcoin? Are we headed back to 1,000 and so forth? So I mean, I think it's just normal to experience this.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And actually, I think you want it this way, right? Because you don't want a collapse. Imagine if we went to like 40 or 50,000 and then we were dragged down to 6,000. Yeah, I mean, that would easily cause capitulation by a majority of retail holders of cryptocurrencies in the market, because there's no way anyone wants to suffer like 90% losses, right? So I mean, I know there's a lot of like hodlers out there, but that's just something that not a lot of people will put up with. And I actually have an interesting pattern that I wanted to show the rest of the community. So let me see if I can draw that out for you guys. And this is what I've drawn, okay? So this may seem like a joke, but I promise you, I want you guys to look this up, okay? This is called a vomiting camel pattern. And this is real, by the way. I'm not even joking. This is actually real. This happened with gold, I want to say in 2014. Okay? So you guys feel free to look it up on YouTube. I'm not kidding. This is how the vomiting camel works. Okay? when a market starts reaching really high highs, it starts getting dragged down. This is your first hump of the camel, right? Then you have the second hump. And then you have its back, and it just starts arching down and down and down. And then you start creating its neck, then you create its head, and then it just starts throwing up. So this is honestly...
we could be headed further.
Yeah, so the thing is, and you can look this up in gold as well.
I want to see the actual completion of the vomiting camel. Is there like can we Google the picture of it to show you where what it looks like fully played out?
I want to show you guys. Here's the vomiting camel. And this was talked about by Brian Kelly from CNBC. Okay. And and I'm pretty sure this is 2014. So yeah, I mean,
that one looks good.
So basically, like, obviously, the drop like this, doesn't necessarily happen all in one shot, right? Because markets rarely ever move, straight up or straight down.
Yeah.
And that's why, in one of my articles, not that, I don't want people to get the idea that I'm very bearish or very bullish. I'm honestly just trying to convey the information that I see on a chart. You know, and that this is what I see happening in the pattern. I can't help it if, to me, you know, this looks like the resemblance of the gold markets in 2014. However, gold didn't end, gold didn't die, right? It probably came somewhere around here, and then it started moving again, right? Now, where it stops, I don't really know. But at some point, you know, this vomiting camel will stop, you know, throwing up, and then it will start moving back in a positive direction, creating a whole different pattern. But right now, you know, the market is just very quiet, right? You know, people are not as high on cryptocurrencies as they used to be. The old, you know, sentiment of, you know, being able to talk about crypto or Bitcoin with anyone and everyone, from your taxi driver to your barber, that's kind of gone, right? No one's really like talking about it like, oh, Bitcoin's at an all-time high, I'm throwing some money into there. No, it's kind of faded. So we need that spark to come back in. And I think that spark will come back in when institutional money starts, you know, pumping this market with life.
Yeah, I think I mean, you cited, you know, you're just trying to provide the tools, I think, for people to learn, and you just said you're not necessarily bearish or bullish, and I think that's kind of what we've tried to really establish in all of the stuff that we've done. Like, you know, we do at times share what we've bought and what we've sold and what we do, but at the end of the day, it's really to try and, you know, show you guys what we do so that you can do it on your own, so you can go out and use these same indicators or tools or resources that we use and do it yourself, because I think that's the best way to learn. I think, you know, they say, you know, teach a man to fish, and I forget how the saying goes, but you know what I mean. You teach a man to fish, and you're going to teach him a lot more than, you know, feeding him a fish. So
right, exactly. I totally agree.
We always try to share, you know, what we've done or what we've used. So we really appreciate all the things that you share, Amol. And why don't you share with us some of the indicators that were on the screen before when we first started, and how you kind of drew some of that. I know there was a lot going on the screen, and I'm sure some people will be interested in learning a little bit more.
So let's pull up this pattern right here, and let me show you guys, you know, on the daily chart over here, so it looks a little bit better. So this is a daily chart, and by the way, I like to use the logarithmic charting, and so I'll explain, you know, how log is different from linear. Okay, so now let me click out of log. Okay, so do you guys see how on the left the scaling is quite equidistant, right? 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. That means that, you know, every $1,000 jump, they equate it as an equal percentage jump. So what that does is it creates an almost like higher volatility pattern in the charting itself. And when I click log here, now do you see the distance has changed? So that means that the distance between 5,500 to 5,950 is percentage-wise the same as 5,950 to 6,450, as well as 13,000 to 15,000. Yeah. Right? Because 1,000 to 2,000 is literally 2x, but you know, 2,000 to 3,000, which is $1,000 jump again, is not the same thing.
Right. And
so what that does is it allows for a smoothing of the chart itself. So now the chart doesn't look so volatile, right? So that's why I like to look at log to, you know, smooth out the chart a little bit, and it makes things, it kind of keeps things in perspective, you know, making you see that, oh my God, things aren't falling apart.
That's good to get a different perspective. I use it at times too to just show me, it kind of, like you said, smooths things out and kind of tries to attempt to kind of linearize things a little bit more and keep them more in line. And I use it at times, and I think it's a good way to just get a different perspective on things.
Definitely. No, I mean, I use linear quite a bit too, so I'm 50-50 on both. But right now I'm just choosing to stick with log, and so for now, let's look at this chart right here. So as you guys will notice that I drew a line from basically the top of right here So what we'll do is we will zoom in a little bit right there. So that is the zoomed in version, okay?
Okay.
And you'll notice that I pretty much drew a line from the top of that little peak of that candle, the bearish candle, and I went down and I tried to connect the other peaks on the way down.
Okay.
Now what this signifies to me is if the peaks connect, this means that this is now a pattern, a downtrend channel. That means that for Bitcoin to get into a bullish mode, we have to break this downtrend channel. Okay? Now, of course, you can have bullish impulses like this because you cannot deny that this is a bullish, impulse right here. But you also cannot deny that this entire large impulse is a bearish impulse. And so this is why it's important to draw trend lines, because it makes you see the bigger picture that's at play, which is we have not been able to escape out of this trend line. And every time we do, we get knocked down, just like we tried right here and just like we tried right here. Now, I would figure that hopefully sometime around we'll break through this and hop on the other side into heaven. So
knowing that that's kind of like a support level that we're kind of bouncing off of, do you think that we'll see eventually kind of some decision made once that that black line meets that support, which might be sometime, it looks like maybe in May, they'll finally converge?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I honestly think that at some point, whenever this bear market ends, these resistance levels will obviously give a little bit of hurdle to us, but I don't think it's going to be anything significant where we just get knocked down just like this, right? And again, markets don't move straight up or straight down. Yes, we're going to have, peaks and valleys, but we're not going to face significant resistance when we go from, 6K like we did to 11.7 and then just be sent straight shooting down every time, right? Every time we attempted. Because this right here, would be one of the resistance levels, right? You see how they're pretty much near each other, So these little, pin bars, this would be a bearish pin bar, would indicate to me that, okay, clearly there's something up here, whether it be a fib level or sellers are just stacking up saying, you know what, I'm done. Like, I'm going to just sell every time it gets up here, and boom, they just sent the price shooting down. Or you could make the argument that whales are just manipulating the market because they do not want price to go higher than this. So I don't really know which one it could be, or it could just be a combination of both.
Somebody shared a funny comment. So the camel toe was the buy sign.
Oh man,
that was a pretty good one.
That's a really good one.
So what's your trading style, Amol? Do you kind of look at it from a long-term approach, or do you find yourself making moves at each of these little miniature cycles that happen between each of these runs here? I mean, you could look at this and one person might look at it and have just sold back in December and may be looking to buy back now, or I think there's opportunities to make money even in between that. What do you find yourself doing?
Yeah, definitely. So there's always opportunities to make money in this kind of market, right? I mean, we're seeing on average, 3 to 5% growth in pretty much any given coin on a daily basis. That's like unheard of in traditional markets, right? I mean, it may not be unheard of, but it may not be as frequently happening as it does in crypto. So, in that regard, I like to at least play my bets, at least in my short-term stack, by fib levels or support levels that I would draw out on my own. And I would, make sure that I stick by, okay, this is my buy zone, and I'm not going to, cave in or FOMO, if you will, into buying something just because it's starting to trend up. Like, I'll give you an example. One of our members asked me about ONT the other day, and this is, it's a healthy, kind of parabolic chart right now, obviously on the daily, but it's trending nicely, right? I mean, it's obviously taking off. But I think they asked me somewhere around here to buy, and obviously I cannot advise that because it has just, started to just take off, right? And if we draw the fibs even, we could probably pick one right there. And the extension of that fib, the next one, the 1618, you'd probably say it would probably get to, 83, right?
Yeah.
83.4 thousand Satoshis. And so I cannot advise that, okay, you know what, we've already gone up pretty much parabolic. Now this would be a good zone to buy. No, what I think it will do is I think it'll retrace a bit as it's doing right now. Clearly it's, it touched that 100 fib level. Now it's retracing. It's finding support right there on that 786. And, obviously there's a lot of buy pressure. So that keeps pushing the price up. And I think it'll start moving sideways and it'll start taking off again. So instead of FOMOing, I suggest to people that you take these fib retracement tools right here. So if you go in your TradingView account and you click this right here, this toolbox, and you click fib retracement, and then you pick the bottom of the impulse to the top, wherever the last little wick touched. And you can even also use, the body of the candle. Some people are a little bit more picky than others. And you then do your fib retracement. And Fibonacci, for those of you who don't know, actually occurs pretty much everywhere in life, like in nature, in the human physiology. And it's just a way of, showing, especially in the markets, it's just a way of showing human psychology and how it works. Right. I mean, the entire idea of trading in, in the equity or traditional, in the crypto markets, it's basically nothing more than human psychology. This is where you can say that people are starting to FOMO and they just keep pushing the price up and up. This is where, the sellers start pushing down, and then people start panicking, and then they start selling too. And now it hits this fib level. And now I bet there's some trader out there who's like, I think I'm just going to wait till this fib level. And boom, he just buys it up right there. And now he's just going to wait for the train ride up on to the next fib level. So he's made his, 30 or so percent right there.
What indicators, if you had to pick one indicator that you found yourself most using, or your favorite indicator, which one would it be?
Probably the MACD.
Okay.
Yeah. So the MACD indicator is really unique in a sense that, it has this. Let's pick something else like Bitcoin. It has this, this histogram right here, which is the faster moving of the averages. And then it has the blue line, which would be the other slower moving average, and then the yellow line, which is the other moving average. And so this indicates, that where is the buy side momentum coming from and where is the sell side momentum coming from. And now the gold line under the gold line under the blue indicates a bullish crossover. We call it a golden cross. The gold on top of the blue means a death cross. Now, as you can see, every time the gold crosses on top of the blue, we start heading down. And when the gold crosses under the blue, we go up, right? So typically what you would want to do for people who are just learning indicators is you want to see where this crossover happens, right? Like, for example, this would be a good place. So, on the 4-hour chart, if you see this cross happening, and even if you wait till like right around here where you see the gap widening, you place a buy right. Yeah, this will be a confirmation, right? Because the crosses can happen, but they can curl down in again, right? So you don't want that. So you want to wait for confirmation right about a few hours in. This would probably depend on the price action and the support levels and resistance levels that are in the chart. But if you were just strictly looking at the MACD, you would say, okay, I think I'm going to place a buy order right here. Boom, you ride the train on the way up. And maybe if it starts curling down right here, you sell right there. And then you just wait for the next buy. And this is what, veteran traders would do. These are the tools that are available to all of us. And so I want to empower, people watching on YouTube, and especially people in our Moon Lounge, to start learning these and asking questions to Sam and Sneh or myself, because we're more than happy to, help everyone. there's plenty of money to go around, and there's, plenty of investments to go around, and, we want everyone to be rich, get Lambos.
I have another question. Actually, someone asked, do you mind switching to night mode? I actually kind of prefer night mode as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure.
And let's zoom in on the current state of Bitcoin and just pretend that we were analyzing it right now at its current state and what kind of, what we might be thinking.
Okay. So at the current state, I had spoken about an accumulation zone right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, clearly, the sellers and the bears were in control, right? They pushed relentlessly on the way down. But right here, and a lot of people don't talk about this 886 level in fib retracements, but it's actually a very powerful level in the traditional markets. This is where a lot of reversals happen. A lot of buyers come in, wait for this level, and once you come down here, you could see that it's really hard to breach it. And every time we did, we got sent shooting back up. So clearly, buyers and sellers could not, come to an agreement of, who has the upper hand. And this would then be an accumulation or an indecision zone. And for the next time around, if we get past this resistance, or we don't, rather, we may retest the 6550 886 fib zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if we just keep retesting it, eventually what's going to happen is the current holders of crypto are just going to start getting frustrated because no one has this kind of patience to just be sitting in the zone, right? I mean, a lot of people, because they're so impulsive with crypto or just with stocks, they're going to start letting go right here. And once this floor starts to crack of this 886 zone,
mm-hmm.
then you're going to start seeing that 6K level come into play. And I wrote in one of my posts, once you even attempt to break that 6K level, then I think people will start panicking and, start heading towards the idea of like capitulation, where for those of you who don't know what capitulation is, it's basically when you basically bleed the market for months or years on end, and people are just so tired of crypto, they're just like, you know what, I'm just fed up with it. I'm just going to sell. I don't want to take any more losses. I don't want to wait anymore. And boom, they just start making like this kind of sell-off down here, right? And that's where the vomiting camel kind of comes into play, because eventually like the camel is just so fed up. It's like, oh my God, I'm just going to get this stuff out. And that is where a lot of retailers, retail investors just start selling. And then there's just buyers waiting right here, and that's why I mentioned this buy zone right here. So I know it's really hard to see on here now. This is between the 6,000, level right here and the 4,200 level right here. So that is where I have indicated a buy zone, at least for myself.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. People, you're right. I mean, it's such a volatile market, and people always want to make money. And after, there's a lot of people, I think, you can tell, obviously, a lot of people that got into the market between, the $250 billion mark, and I think we went as high as $800 billion. So,
Mm-hmm.
As these people, keep seeing the waning and waning movement of Bitcoin, they kind of just, it sounds like, gets fed up, and then, those are the people with weak hands. And, that may be that zone that you indicated could be the mark where, bigger money comes into play finally. Those guys have a lot better mindset and are very strategical at where to get in. And I agree. I mean, whether or not that actually ends up being the floor or not, I mean, I do think we're getting towards there. Like we said earlier, I think a lot of people are, don't have that long-term mindset when it comes to money.
Right.
It's unfortunate. I think there's a lot of people. I watched a video yesterday just talking about the ridiculous amounts of debt and how much money people make. And there's an interesting statistic I found yesterday. It was that on average, for every year an American works, they actually can afford to take off negative 65 days after having worked, meaning that they actually lost money during that year. And I think some of that is just that mindset of not looking for the, you know, the long-term outset of things, and it's unfortunate. So we try to practice, you know, a different approach. You know, live frugally, live healthily, live, you know, take all these things into consideration. And
yeah, I absolutely agree with that. You know, and another thing is, I disagree with the idea that, you know, you should hodl your way to like, you know, 100% loss, right? I mean, there's no need for that. I fully believe that, yes, there are coins that you want to hold long term. That doesn't mean that you should wait, you know, all the way down when you're 90% down on your portfolio on a certain coin. And that's just not smart trading, nor is it smart investing, right? Because again, this is a very speculative market. And the fact that it's speculative, no one really knows, you know, where some of these coins will be in the near future. They might go to 0 or they might go to 100,000. I have no idea. But you should always practice, you know, risk management, and that means setting stop losses, you know, reaching out to, you know, technical analysts like myself, or, you know, learning TA yourself maybe, and figuring out, okay, if I buy in at 6,000, what is the pain tolerance I have for Bitcoin? You know, is it 5,000? Am I willing to lose 50%, which would be, you know, 3,000? Because the chances are that, you know, if you do set a stop loss, especially in a volatile market like this, who knows, you might be able to buy in at a lower price. And why wouldn't you want that, right? You can accumulate more at a lower price and not have to be so stressed out about, you know, you're sitting on, you know, like $3,000 of a loss or whatever, right? It's just too much stress added onto your life. I mean, that's why, you know, at least in the Cryptosomniac community, I love to preach the idea of, you know, just relax, sit back, and just enjoy yourself, right? And set your stop losses. If you feel like you're losing, you know, trades, you know, like 2 or 3 trades in a row, just walk away. Go read a book. Go take your dog out. Go mow the lawn, you know, and then come back Monday, and, you know, who knows, you might have better luck.
Absolutely. Are there what are some of the tools that you found yourself, that anything that you could recommend for the audience that you use to learn yourself, that they could you know, follow through with the same type of things?
Yeah, definitely. I like to follow certain people on Twitter. For example, Peter Brandt is one of them. You know, there's people I watch on TradingView here and there. YouTube. I like to watch West Texas Capital, that guy, also because he's from Texas, so he's pretty awesome. Yeah. And yeah, there's a few people here and there that I like to pay attention to. But another reason why I don't like to listen to a whole lot of people outside is it kind of creates this, you know, internal like fogginess. It clouds your judgment. Because me being an analyst, I have my own way of going about things, right? The first thing that I do in the morning, first off, you know, obviously before I get to the analysis, is, you know, take care of myself, get myself in the proper mindset of, you know, receiving from the market, right? Instead of coming in with an attitude like, okay, you know, I'm going to see another 10% gain or a 30% loss or whatever. I see what the chart is going to show me, and that's it. You need to be comfortable with the fact that you're in a speculative market and you may be up or down in your portfolio. There's no other direction. That's really it, right? Yeah. And so, you know, by that regard, I like to approach the market, you know, with just a plain attitude of, okay, what does the chart tell me? And usually the chart is right. I mean, you cannot bring your own emotional sentiment to the market and expect it to pay you back in whatever manner, you know, you perceive. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No, it's good to have your own opinions as well, too. You know, when you start to listen to so many other people and not put it into practice, then you may not ever learn the skills yourself. So I think it's very important to get into that mindset. And you know, I think we've spoken in the past a little bit about it, that mindset's key for a lot of things, not just, you know, crypto trading, but life in general. It's
absolutely.
You know, so if anyone's willing or wanting to learn more, I know that, Amol, you've taken one-on-one appointments, which are available through our website. and Amol is always in the Moon Lounge or the Advantage, sharing advice on what's going on in the markets, what he's doing almost daily. I think, like you said, one of the first things you do is wake up with a fresh mindset, look at the chart, and then you usually share what's going on, at least with Bitcoin anyway, and then available answering questions through most of the day as people have anything in regards to other coins, and is a huge help. And I think you've made yourself accessible pretty much 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, if not more sometimes, in the Moon Lounge. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Does anyone have any other questions? What are we looking at?
I picked up on some of them. Great advice. Yeah, if anything has anybody left, let me go over to Facebook real quick, and there's always so many things to keep open. Let me see if there's any questions that came in over there, and if anybody has anything before we leave. Speak now. One-on-one, very helpful. Yeah. You feel free to schedule an appointment there, and if anybody has anything, let's see. The chat window's covering. Nothing there.
Let's see if I can throw this dreaded vomiting camel pattern on Twitter.
That's pretty funny. I'd never seen that before. I did not believe it. You said you had an interesting chart pattern to share last night.
Yeah.
When do you think BTC was? Is it me, or does it look like a dinosaur?
I know, my drawing's terrible. Yeah.
Okay, nothing really over on Facebook. Any last questions over on YouTube? Again, somebody asked them all, what would you buy today?
Oh, that's easy. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Nebulous. Again, this is no shilling. I have actually written a report on it. You could find it on Medium. You could find it in our Moon Lounge. It is one of the more promising projects because Nebulous was actually founded by Hitters Zoo, and you could look this up. He was actually the former founder of AntShares, which is now known as Neo.
Yep.
So clearly he has, a history of success. He has been in the blockchain world in China since 2010, and he created a club there. And then he was also part of a capital investment firm that did predominantly cryptocurrency investment in 2011 or 12. Don't quote me on that. But this guy, I mean, he's just got an incredible vision for how he wants to put together blockchain technology and make a form of like interconnectedness with crypto. And I think it's going to be one of the more profitable businesses in the upcoming years. And I urge you to do your own research. Read my report. Check out their Reddit page. Check out their website. They're actually having their mainnet launch, or actually I think they already did, and they're going to release the AlphaNet or their mainnet in April 21st, I want to say, and they're going to swap their tokens that they have now from their mainnet right around the end of April as well. So what they're really trying to do is basically create a Google of for the blockchain world, and I think it's going to be an absolutely incredible venture.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nebulous was a great project. Reading your report was definitely insightful, and of course, do your own research, but very interested, especially as you mentioned, the connection there with AntShares, which was a great project that I remember actually Snay was the one who shared with me the first findings of AntShares and had purchased it back then. So who knows? Maybe it'll be another lucky one like that. Somebody asks, please tell me about Ripple, hold or sell. What are your thoughts, Amol, about Ripple? Not from a price standpoint, but from just a fundamental standpoint.
Fundamentally, I mean, I don't really have anything against Ripple in the idea that, people say that, Ripple isn't truly decentralized or anything. Well, the thing is, guys, when you are about to start a revolution when it comes to currency distribution or trying to change the world up, you don't just drastically change things, right? You take one step at a time. Even if that means that banks are somewhat a part of it, you are still meeting them halfway and somewhat creating a decentralized structure. And I think that's what, the step that I would think that Ripple is key in, is that it is working with these large institutions, these governments, these banks. And I don't think that Ripple will go anywhere. It won't go to zero. I actually think it has more of a promising future because it has all these influential hands, in its pockets, basically.
I agree. I mean, and a lot of people are very strong-minded about Ripple, but I totally agree. I think well said, and they sort of serve, in my eyes, as an in-between. I mean, I think it's difficult for a lot of people to grasp going from something like, having dollars in their bank account that's insured to Bitcoin, where you completely own your money, and if you lose it, there's literally no recourse to take if you lose your private keys. So it's a drastic shift in the way we handle money. So I think Ripple is a good. I mean, of course, have your own opinions, but for me personally, I'll always continue to hold some for a lot of the same reasons. I think it is kind of like this, could be seen as like a merger between kind of these legacy financial systems to what we're trying to achieve in crypto, and at least has its place, I think, in the market.
Yeah, definitely. Any other questions?
Sam there, cheers for the tips. Thanks for taking the questions, Sam. Thanks, bro. How to pick the best cryptos to day trade? I mean, yeah, you can answer as well. I mean, I think I mean all of them, I think, offer the ability to day trade. Of course, for me personally, I usually stay out of cryptos though that I don't know anything about. Just in a worst case scenario, if things don't work out, or if I'm not available to trade it that day, at least I'm holding on to a project or a coin that I actually do like. I don't find myself trading BitConnect, for example. So, but
yeah, no, I think for me, Sam, so, I advise and I urge people that you should all have a distributed portfolio by terms. And what I mean by that is you should have your day trading stack separate from your medium term holds, which is, a few weeks to a few months, as well as a separate stack for your long term holds, which may be a few months to a few years. Now, I keep the long and the medium term typically on my hard wallets, and then my short term stack is sitting on exchanges, and I have an account on majority of exchanges, and I may only trade anywhere between 5 to 10% of my entire portfolio in that short term stack. And I think when it comes to day trading, it is a little bit easier than doing all the grind of the research for the fundamentals of holding for long term. However, you also want to do a little bit of research as to why a coin is taking off. For example, ONT, as I'm sure everyone knows, when it got listed on Binance, it just started skyrocketing, right? It falls under the Neo umbrella. It's got obviously a very promising future. But you have to figure out, okay, are the fundamentals good about this technology? Is it just a pump and dump right now? Why is it taking off? And it's okay to miss out on the huge amounts of gains that you could have had, but rather make a smart, educated pick and see that, okay, ONT is actually a good project. Let me do some technical analysis on it and see, okay, where are the support levels? When can I rebuy in? Instead of trying to, catch the moon when you're already at the top and then it starts going down and then you have to sell at a loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Which apps or websites do you recommend to help keep track of trades in USD value for next year's tax season? I have many trades but haven't been keeping track. What do you use? I personally have everything on Binance and a couple other exchanges. I don't really use any external software. I know that those exchanges usually export your your trades in a CSV format, but
Yeah, so I actually used, for my taxes this year, I used cointracking.com, I want to say. That actually, so because I'm connected to so many different exchanges and I, pretty much day trade on most of them, it helps me connect their API plugin to coin tracking, and it will just automatically pull the trades. And it pulls, the profits and losses and the amount of coins or whatever. Because yes, you can download the CSV, but just having a connection made to the exchange, obviously it's less secure, but it makes things a lot easier. So I obviously did my taxes on coin tracking and made my API connections to things like Binance and Coinbase and other exchanges, and it puts together a nice little document for you, and you're done.
I know since last year, with rules changing about taxes and just being busy this year, I know personally I haven't traded quite as much as I did last year, so hopefully it won't be as hard to manage. But I think there's actually a great need for, I think, a lot of tools out there as in regards to taxes, and I think there will be. I think there's with all this new money coming in, I think there's a lot of cool things being built. Even that support cryptocurrency. I think there's like a lot of new. I always tell people always ask me, is it too late to get into crypto to do this, like be a marketer or be a lawyer? And I think there's like a lot of new tools and things and people and jobs in the space just with that new influx of money. And I think I think there'll be a lot in the future, a lot of new tools out there that'll help us keep track of things, all sorts of things. And if anyone's interested in getting into crypto, I always tell them that I don't think it's too late, especially if you're looking for something more stable, like a job, as opposed to just investing into the underlying assets. Having a job is going to be more consistent than perhaps trading crypto. So I always tell people it's not too. I don't think it's too late. And hopefully when the markets recover, things will be looking up for a lot of us. I know a lot of views on YouTube and all these different types of things have kind of suffered as the market has kind of entered this bearish state, but definitely think it'll be picked back up.
Yeah, and for the in the meanwhile, like the way I see it is this is a unique opportunity to do your research into coins and projects that you have been waiting for the longest time, right? For example, Nebulous. I mean, I've just been kind of like waiting for an opportunity like this to buy it at such a discount. And there's many other coins like that, which I'm sure you guys all have your favorites. And so you take the time and do your research into the coins and buy it at a discount.
Absolutely, it's a great time to read up on stuff. I share that same thought as well. When you have a bear market like this, use the extra time to read up on projects or even things that you're currently invested in to see if they still make sense. I know a lot of people jump into things preemptively without fully understanding, and I think it's a great time to have a fresh look at what you've got on your plate.
Definitely.
Well, I think that should do it for today. Really appreciate you coming on, and feel free to hit the thumbs up button, guys, if you like this video, and share it on social media. And hopefully we'll have you back on if you'd like. You're welcome anytime, Amol. And of course, you guys can feel free to schedule an appointment with Amol or join the Moon Lounge, and you'll have access to him almost daily. You should take a break.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. Well, thanks for listening to me, YouTube, and I hope to catch up with you guys soon.
All right. Well, thanks, Amol, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. I think Jason will be doing a video tomorrow. I know I won't be here, so hopefully he treats you well.
Fantastic.
All righty. Well, thanks, Amol. Talk to you guys all later.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.